What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another fun-filled episode of Francess and Friends. There's some alliteration right at the top. Fun-filled Francess Friends. We got some of those coming on today. I heard your requests. Sometimes when I'm feeling courageous, you want to know what I do? I read the YouTube comment section. Sometimes that's an ungodly place to go. That's like, did you hear this thing that people were saying a couple weeks ago? One of the many scams that come out of the whole TikTok world that your average guy thinks about the ancient Rome and the Roman Empire once a day. Once a day, they think about ancient Rome. I mean, that's the biggest scam I ever heard. Most of Gen Z can't even tell you where Rome is on a map these days. They just stopped teaching geography, amongst many other things. So how the hell are they thinking about ancient Rome? I don't buy it. However, if you are one of those people who thinks about ancient Rome, you know, at the Colosseum, the crowd, I mean, that's the mob. They have a bloodlust. Sometimes that's what the YouTube comment sections are. But I don't know, you guys have been very nice down there. And since you're nice to me, I'm going to be nice to you. You requested that we bring Ben back on. Ben does a lot of good stuff. I mean, he's just like me, runs his mouth all the time, opinionated, goes on how he feels about things, not really into the numbers. No, that's the polar opposite. He's the perfect counterbalance. I mean, he's what I would need in my life. I wish there was a Ben Rasa like you'd see in 90s shows with the angel and the devil. Anytime I want to do something a little crazy, I would really like him to just have that. But don't you know, since week 2 of 2021, so-and-so happens in outdoor games on Friday the 13th. I'd love to know the Friday the 13th metrics out there. Happy Friday the 13th. I'm a big horror movie guy. If you've ever watched any of my podcasts, even just the overall background always has a little bit of a Halloween vibe. I wanted to model my whole studio like Elvira's countdown show. I look a little bit different than her, I would say, but I'm a big horror movie October guy. October's the best time of year. We're in the middle of football. Football's fully underway. You got the baseball playoffs. You got hockey starting up. You guys obviously know I'm a hockey guy, and you got the ideal weather outside. You want to wear a jacket? Fine. You still want to wear a t-shirt? Fine. This is the best time of year. It's the happiest I am throughout the course of the year. I thought we didn't have anyone on staff who was a bigger horror movie, Halloween, fall guy than me. But not only do I enjoy horror movies, but our producer, Mike, is making horror movie. He literally had to pause from working on the set of a horror film to bring you this week's episode of Francess and Friends. So first of all, I'd like to thank Mike for finding a room off to the side. And if you hear some ghosts and goblins in the back, I don't know, that might just be my back after a long couple of days, but he's coming to us live from set. He found a little room off to the side. So Mike, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. You know, we're trying to give the people a weekly show, and you made that happen by taking some time out of your schedule. So we really, really do appreciate that.
Yeah, man, you got it. We're actually shooting
I'm not sure. I remember we had a little bit of issues with hearing you.
You're good now.
Okay.
I just need to make sure I was in your ear, but we're going out. I'm in the basement of the Veterans Memorial Coliseum, the old home of the Winterhawks for two hockey guys, one of the best minor league hockey clubs. It's also the old home of the Blazers. So we're out here shooting a horror film called Delilah. It's been going great, and I put all my shows on hold except for one, Francess and Friends, because this is as much my baby as Andy's and the whole crew, and I wouldn't miss it for anything. So thanks for going around my spooky schedule on this Friday the 13th.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for making time for this show, and thank all of you viewers for making time for this show. I know there's a lot to go through on a Friday. You can watch every show under the sun, but which show has a statue of noses next to its host? And who has paid $500 out of their own pocket for a statue of noses that he found on Mercari and had to haggle some old lady for because he had a good NHL season? That would be me. Yes, that's right. I paid $500 for this thing you see next to me because I'm an impulse buyer and I'm just a jackal, which is why I need Ben Rasa on my shoulder telling me what to do and not to do. Do you think he would have told me? Actually, let's ask him. We're going to bring on Ben nice and early here. Ben, do you think that I made a silly purchase with this vase? It's a vase, both.
Vase? Yeah, we'll go vase. So, you know, you always have the future Antiques Roadshow out, maybe we're going to see you in a future episode saying, this was an impulse buy. And then they say, well, it was part of the Roman Empire and this is actually worth a shitload of money. So you have that out. So I'm not gonna bash that too much. I'm excited to come back. It's been a couple of weeks and I wanted to stop in.
The Odd Shopper Premium, I don't know if they had plus EV on spending 500, minus 500 for the nose vase.
That's debatable, but you know what? Like I said, it goes with the decor. You do have the Halloween theme. I will admit that. Like you do have that going nicely behind you.
That's my thing, man.
Okay.
I don't know why. I've always loved horror movies. Maybe it says a little something about the haunted nature of my mind. I did actually want to ask you something today. I guess maybe let's go to a bet first for those bloodthirsty Coliseum people. We'll talk about one quick bet, and then I do want to ask you something honestly that we're never going to get to the bottom of the answers. I've reached out to sportsbooks; they won't give me a straight answer, which means I'm on to something. But I did want to ask you about. Last week I took the Jacksonville Jaguars because my theory was they're sitting over there tea and crumpets. I remember when Justin Gaethje said, I was completely disoriented in that fight against Khabib Nurmagomedov, who was sitting in Abu Dhabi waiting, time differences, being acclimated. Well, they had that advantage last week. They do not have that advantage this week. If anything, there's a potential disadvantage. I wanted to see, I weighed that and I liked that last week. Should I not like that this week in a home game versus the Colts?
Yeah, I mean, I was about to say it's the old road game in Jacksonville for Jacksonville at this point because their true home is across the pond. I don't know what to do with this team. You mentioned it and you were right on it against the Bills. Like Lawrence, is he good? Like what is he? I really don't know at this point. They've got all the weapons. I'm looking right now. You're seeing 3.5, 4-point favorite for Jacksonville. I think I have to go that way. Certainly, of course, the Richardson experiment is on hold. I'm just not sure the Colts are the team to exploit them. So even though they're not going to know where they are flying back, I'm still with you, I think, on the Jags this week.
All right. Now, I didn't know. It was just more so, am I going to – because I have no loyalty when it comes to betting, as you should know. That's good. Yeah. It's one of the best parts about me growing up such a big hockey fan and playing and dedicating so much of my time. I mean, I told Laffy about this, that since I didn't grow up with a team, I don't have an emotional tie. And I don't believe you should be one of those adults who says, yeah, I'm a Houston Texans fan, and just arbitrarily decide, because you'll never have that childhood emotional investment. But that allows me to see clearly. Like, I got goggles underwater here. I see what's going on out there. And I mean, what an absurd reference that is to see NFL spreads. But I was just kind of wondering, like, on that front. So maybe I'll just kind of stay away from that one because I don't think I have the balls to take it. To a similar extent, does that mean we actually also have to factor that in against the Bills? Didn't they always used to issue bye weeks after London? They just did away with that?
Some teams now, yeah, apparently so. It used to be like, you're 100% right, at least, unless I don't know what I'm talking about. If you went to London, that was, you didn't have to worry about this. Now, the Bills, I guess, technically, the NFL did them one better than a bye. They get the Giants at home, which is as easy as you can get. So maybe technically they do have a bye.
Yeah, okay. That's fair enough. So now something that I wanted to ask you about. I don't know if you're going to be able to provide any more answers. Now, when it comes to trends and charts, I love seeing, what percentage of the public we see. A lot of sports books try to put that information out there. We can never truly access that information. I reached out to the people. What I want to know are a couple questions. That classic percentage chart that shows you, percentage of money line bets, percentage of the. Is that number an aggregate of from when it opens to this current day? Or if it moves from -3 to -3.5, are we now canceled are we at 0%? And now are the numbers that I'm seeing, only from the time that it reset, because we already have a boatload of bets. Now, boatload just in terms of if we were looking at the aggregate percentage.
Yes.
We have a bunch that were on one side. Now are they just deleted because it resets? And nobody has been able to truly tell me on Saturday, if I'm looking at those betting percentages, am I looking at an accumulation of data or a bunch of mini resets? And is it not truly indicative of what I should be seeing for all the bets that have come in since day one?
Fascinating question. Don't know for sure. I'm under the assumption that it is an aggregate. So, if a team opens as a 7-point underdog and 1,000 people bet them and they move to 6 and 500 other people bet them, we're going to factor in those 1,000 original bets. The tricky part with that type of stuff, we don't know what the hell is going on. Like, is it all the books? Is it offshores? Is it this book? Is it a sync? It's very noisy. It's fascinating to look at, but it's very noisy.
I thought, see, originally, that's what your mind thinks. Like, yeah, it's got to be. Come on.
It's got to be, right?
It has. But my new thought is, okay, if it moves to -4 to -6.5, and you're looking at the line -6.5, that's not what those bets came in at. Like,
no.
That's inaccurate to say that 60%. No. And now I'm starting to think it's not. I'm starting to think that there are mini resets along the way, and it kind of flushes out the old data, and nobody's telling me, and I'm onto something. If I'm dead in 2 weeks, just know I was about to stumble on the true betting trends for the sports books.
That would do probably good numbers for the show. So if that does sacrifice, because that'll be a big conspiracy for us if they hunt you down because of this, but that is fascinating. You're going to make me want. I'm going to have to dig. And next time I'm on the show, I'm going to bring Sherlock Holmes type investigation to this problem, because this is a good, interesting question.
I reached out to 2 sports books. I got answers to the first question, and then when I really pinpoint that, neither of them answered me. What are you guys doing out there? What are you hiding?
True Detective season 4. I think we need to get into this.
Yeah, me and Lofty, we were figuring out whose burner belongs to whom. Me and you are going to figure out what the hell is going on with these betting trends. And I have one friend who said, do you know how many of my decisions were based on one of these websites? I got somebody from one of those websites saying, well, that part is like very vague. I sent that answer to one of my friends who, heavily values that. He's like, so you're just telling me that the last 5 years of my bets were all based on nothing? So just something to put in the back of your mind. Now, I'm a big fan of most people being idiots, most people losing money. So I think you could still go to your local town and ask a bunch of people what they think. And if they're all saying, oh, the Dolphins, all right, well, you know where the money's going to be. But I'm just saying, when you're being shot these numbers and whatnot, that's something to just think about. We're going to get to the bottom of this, mark my words, one way or another. And if I'm dead because they've snuffed me out, then our producer's going to create a horror movie about it. It's going to be a gambling horror. And it's going to, yes. Yep. And it's going to debut the next time Friday the 13th comes around. All right. So that's enough of my conspiracy theories. I always thank the people at Odd Shopper for welcoming my conspiracy theories. And now I'm not out there saying these crazy things. I'm talking about, double stuffed Oreos having the same amount of cream as single stuffed Oreos. We can get into that on a whole nother podcast. But how about a bet or two coming from the wizard himself? People really, you have a lot of credibility with the audience, and that's a great thing.
Okay. Well, the fastest way to burn through credibility, goodwill that you've built over years, is to start doing what I'm about to do, which is recommending the Falcons, which is a team that I seemingly can't get right, even when I kind of get them right, which would be like last week. I lost by the hook. God, they're at home again in the Dome against Washington. It's inside 3 everywhere. I just do not believe in Washington. If you get smoked by the Bears, you've lost all your credibility. Ritter looked better. Bijan is Bijan. London, Pitts. The defense is okay. I honestly think that the Falcons hold serve at home. I'm drawn to that number at 2.5. I'm going to take the Falcons once again, and we're going to see what happens.
Are they 3-0 at home?
They're good in that dome. That has been a split already this year. They have been strong, much stronger at home.
They came back against the Packers, and they had to come back last week. So I will say this: it is Halloween, it is Friday the 13th, and on Sunday you're going to be in for a thriller because
Oh yeah,
I don't think you're going to breeze your way through this one. Okay, you're going to see
no,
a couple
freak show.
ghosts and goblins trickle up through the way. Are you ever concerned? Do you put any value in the extra rest theory? Like there's a little extra time for Chicago to prepare for this game. Chicago's weirdly played better the last 2 weeks.
I
I'm
mean,
sorry,
Washington, but but same thing. The mini bye. So yes, I definitely think it factors in, but you know what? It's one of those things. For every positive, there's also, I think, some potential negatives of, not that they had any momentum, so it's not like we're putting them on ice, but that helps a bit. But you're still hitting the road, and yeah, I mean, Atlanta is a goblin team, so if you're going to do it around the holiday season, we may have to just factor in that type of concept. But no, I do think Ritter showed some signs that if they happen to fall behind, they can claw the back a little bit, and that was encouraging.
Yeah, and we know that Hal holds on to that ball a little way too long, and maybe
No
he takes a
doubt.
couple sacks, maybe a little bit interception here and there. If Atlanta can somehow get up and ride their run game, should be good. But this one's going to be a little bit of a sweat, I think, on your end. I think all those
Yes.
wins at home have been relatively close. I can't remember.
They've been close. Like, they haven't been covering like 2 points at home, and they've been winning the games. That's how close it's been. It's been bad.
No better time. What do you think about that San Francisco? If you got them at -4, you're laughing, and now they're up to what, -11?
Yeah, 10, 11. This may have saved me some money, because I actually thought that the Browns defense might be able to slow a little bit of the juggernaut that is this Niners team. I didn't even know PJ Walker was on the Browns. And apparently he's starting for them. Maybe I just made that up, but I'm pretty sure I saw that today.
He is. I call him PJ Chalker because that's what he's going to be at, like 4,800 or something on DraftKings.
It's going to be. So I don't even know. You want conspiracy theories? What Deshaun Watson? I don't understand. They say he's cleared to go, and he's just waving that. They're just in such a world of hurt. They're going to have to find a way to really slow the tempo. Certainly, Nick Chubb's not walking through that door. They need answers, and I don't know if they have any.
If you think about when they played without Watson, you could have a great defense all you want. It usually holds up for about a half, and then when nothing's going on offense, it's just like, all right, man. And if there's a team that really can expose good defenses and the best player on those defense, it's teams with a million motions and ways to deceive the defense, like the Niners. Yeah, I would be. I kind of have a general rule. I don't bet double-digit favorites, but
on the road too,
it's very difficult to double-digit favorite on the road. Very difficult to envision a scenario in which Cleveland comes through, because it just seems like, I forget. Obviously, Murphy's Law is what can go wrong, will go wrong. Kind of like the most dramatic outcome is for Cleveland to get blown out, and then this Watson situation. Like, what is going on? But if Cleveland actually plays well, then that convo will be minimized. Mm-hmm. So it's like a Murphy's Law extension. The most dramatic result is what will happen, and that's if they take a second consecutive beating at home. And now people are demanding to know what the hell's going on with Watson. It has been fascinating. Watson, he deserves, I mean, for many years, he's deserved a detective or two around there. Now, and now we're really going to have to pay close attention. Maybe if you can, I have this thing that I do, big revenge guy I am. You know, if someone screws me, I come after the person who screwed me, and I want the juice. I want what they cost me last time.
With interest.
You know, the Blackhawks got me night 1, and I made sure to come back and get them night 2. But it's even easier with player props in the NFL. For example, 2 weeks ago, Calvin Ridley screwed me. He had a nice over-under, and Atlanta shut him down. I should have known better. They ended up shadowing him more than any other receiver had been shadowed. It was the first London game. And then I say he owes me money. I'm taking his over on 53. I'm taking the 70 plus, and I'm taking the 90 plus. And he's paying me for this week and last week. So I come for revenge. I have 2 revenge players on my mind, and hopefully you'll be okay. One, I think you're going to be all right with. First one I'm going to go with is Jalen Waddle.
Okay.
Scored a touchdown, had 10 targets, but like a measly 40 yards. I want you to tell me, or, I mean, if you don't like it, you don't like it, but you think he can have a massive game in a game where they're double digit? They have like a 30 implied team total.
The thing I liked, you already mentioned it. So you look at the game, like 5 touchdown, 6 touchdown equity for Miami. And it's like, oh yeah, but Mostert and Tyreek. Waddle had 10 targets. 10 targets. It wasn't like he was an afterthought. He just didn't happen to maximize them. Couple didn't go his way. So this is still a guy that's super involved. Even when they're gearing down running, Miami legitimately already scored 70 points in a game. So I'm not too worried about like, oh, late in the game, they won't be throwing. No, they'll be throwing. That's just what they do. I have no problem with Waddle. I have revenge on my mind too, because I have a player prop for you. That's same thing. Cost me money, and I want my money back with interest.
The same way you're the angel on my shoulder. I feel like sometimes
it's just double devil on
your
right now.
Shoulder. Just get revenge. Get revenge.
It's I can't take some of these players. It's like, I mean, I'll throw just as an extension before I get out of here. Bijan Robinson owes me some money. He was terrible last week. I'm sticking with my Falcons theme. 68.5 rushing yards against Washington at home. Get it done, my friend. Break a run or two. I really think that Bijan will be in line for a bounce back spot this week.
And then one last guy who screwed me on DFS. He screwed me on my player props. He ruined the last leg of a parlay after correctly predicting like Waller having a good day, Ridley having a good day. Devontae Smith, back-to-back bad weeks, and then puts up like a full donut essentially against the Jets, who will probably have Gardner on A.J. Brown. Can this guy have himself a day for once?
So I think it's his turn. I mean, A.J. Brown was very unhappy, and they got him the ball a lot. And then they said, you know what, Dallas Goedert, he seems unhappy. Let's get him the ball a lot. Devontae Smith, it's got to be your turn now, man. And you mentioned Sauce probably going to be focused elsewhere. They could spread him out. I think the Jets will stay in that game, which might be a good thing. But Devontae Smith, still an elite receiver. He's just got to kind of consolidate some of that target share. Props are pedestrian, though. You're talking like 50 and change yards that you need to clear to get there.
That's what I'm saying. I tell people often the good part, if there's any good part about losing, it's that many times it brings that number down because people, like Calvin Ridley was at 52 last week. He cleared 100. Think about those alt lines you're getting on 100. Devontae Smith, who's one of those burners where his touchdowns can go for 70 yards. Would you be really shocked if he had 88 yards in that game? And think about the money you'd be getting on something like that. So we'll see if these ones come through. But those are 2 of my revenge bets. Okay. I kind of like that segment.
That's
revenge
fun.
bets.
If you're doing a revenge segment, you gotta let me know. I gotta pop on for that more often.
Everyone's gonna want in. This is like talking about people's bad beats in poker or something. Everyone's like, let me tell you about mine. Let me tell you about mine. But the good thing is when you suggest the bets, the viewers want revenge too. So I mean, revenge is like mafia movies, and they always sell or something like that. It's you don't have to. You don't have to go far to sell revenge to somebody. So, Ben, I do want to thank you for coming on. Unless there's anything else you want to throw our way, big Falcons guy this week, and I'll be keeping a crooked eye on that one. Thank you for coming back.
Of course, man. Yeah, I just want to say thanks for having me on. Obviously. Everyone's supporting the show. We appreciate it. It's been a good time. I know it's in good hands with you, but I'll be watching. And yeah, go Falcons. Anyone has any questions, you guys know where to find me here on Odd Chopper. But I'm going to investigate. We have investigations to get to.
Yes. And while you're looking for those things, you should also be looking for great deals like the one that you've always known about at Bet365, where if you got a new account over there and you bet and you deposit $10. So you deposit 10 and you make any $5 bet. They're going to give you $150 in bonus bets, free bet credits, whatever you want to call them. You just got to bet $5. And like I said, you got to be a new user on the platform. It's only available in a handful of states in the U.S. You can see which states in the description of this video. 18 in Kentucky, which I've learned. I mean, that's wild. Not 19, 18 in Kentucky, 21 everywhere else in the U.S. It's also available international. Just make sure if you're one of the international viewers, always love my Sweden folks watching these videos and watching some of my stuff and supporting it. But if you're in Canada or you're elsewhere, there's separate links for all of you in the description of this video. So just make sure you click the right one and it will take you there. If you have a problem or anyone you know has a problem, it is very important to address that problem, whatever that problem is, even if it's not gambling. But if it's gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER. You can even text 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, Gen Z folk, you might not know where ancient Rome actually is on a map, but you would know how to text 1-800-GAMBLER, and somebody will be there to text you back. And it ain't going to be AI. I know you're worried that it's a person. I think you're going to know if AI texted you back. So if you do have a problem or anyone else you know, like I said, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Well, Mike, this is our time of year, man. This is Halloween, and it's Friday the 13th. I don't know what's looking scary for you about this weekend. I have a little fear going into just like a healthy fear, kind of like a mafia don's. He's always worried about what's around the corner. Sometimes I look at my betting slips and I actually just look at the screen and I go, who's going to screw me? Like as if something, like I'm going to see something like a magician. Like I'm going to look at it. Oh, you're going to screw me. You're going to screw me. I know you've been a little bit busy out there. Is it nice to get a little break from sports? Like I imagine you weren't able to catch most of that game last night. I could fill you in on some of it.
Well,
Russell
I was actually
Wilson.
I was in LA last week, so I went to the Eagles Rams game and enjoyed myself quite a bit there, and then kind of headed to set. And so I missed last night. But you were asking earlier about that what's around the corner. I don't like that the Jets are only a 7-point dog. I know the Eagles are rolling. It's I hate to say trap game. They just came out with a big win out west, and they're smelling their own shit. And I'm worried. I'm not only worried about the cover, I'm worried about this weird week. I feel like the line should be much higher, and I hope we don't catch a loss out there because that's going to
It
be a whole
smells like
bunch of
you might
birds.
not cover. It smells like you
Yeah,
might not cover, but a loss is really asking a lot. It's not easy to lose to Zach Wilson. You have to actually try. There's going to be one way it can happen, and it's through Brees Hall and some maybe crazy special teams or turnovers. I think last
turnovers.
week you had. I remember before we went our own way last week. I think you said you were going to take the Eagles. I thought that one wasn't a trap game. I thought that the line was going to overwhelm in the second half. You saw that happen. I know Stafford on that opening drive, finding people over the middle, left and right. Second half had very little time to do anything. Eagles dominated the time of possession. They controlled the clock. So that was a pretty nice, easy cash for you, right? You weren't sweating that one too long.
Not at all. I had quite a day, and that was nice heading out here. But you did say that you could remind me of what happened last night. I was actually tuned into sports last night, but I know we talk football. But I was watching my Phils knock the Braves out in the division round for the second straight year. And as a kid that grew up in the NL East, watching them win year after year, I was a happy, happy dude last night.
Congratulations on that front. I saw a video today of someone in the locker room. He was just like cursing out the teams in the NL East. Did I see that right?
Yeah, it's no different than the NFC East.
Other than George Kittle, I don't think anyone's really wearing F the Cowboys shirts, which was unbelievable. Because George Kittle's he's pretty nice. He doesn't do like intentional stuff like that. That was very interesting to see, pretty entertaining to see. I kind of like George Kittle, the way he goes on about WWE and whatnot. It's pretty hilarious.
I think something I mentioned to a few people at the Rams Eagles game and they didn't know. So maybe it's just a local thing in Philly. But DeAndre Swift obviously is from Philadelphia, made his way back to the Eagles. And when they asked him what number he wanted, he chose 0. And he told the media, they said, why did you choose 0? And he said, well, growing up an Eagles fan, I wanted to wear a number that represented how many Super Bowls the Dallas Cowboys have won since I've been alive. So you want to talk about the total NFC East troll? His number literally is a Cowboys troll.
Oh my goodness. That is
We-
pretty
We're petty
unbelievable.
like that. We're petty like that. Even millionaire athletes from Philly still hate the Cowboys.
I'm aware. I've maintained that the two biggest scumbag fans in sports now. I think the Raiders have something that I don't know. It's different, but as far as what you're hearing and what you're seeing and what you're saying, Philly fans and a contingent of New York fans, because New York has two versions of it. You know how like there's upstate New York and then downstate New York? There are fans of like the Giants and Yankee teams who have had some success, so it's kind of simmered them down. But usually, if you're a Jets fan, you're a Mets fan, and that comes with a lot of pain and misery. And those like Jets, Mets, that contingent of New Yorkers and Philly fans, I call them the carnies. That's what I really say, because it's what it's like. It's like you're on one of those boardwalks in South Jersey. You're in Wildwood Crest, and there's these characters running the shops on the boardwalk. That's what I've always referred to as Philly fan. And I'm a huge New York Islander fan. The fan base is a bunch of carnies. I could look at my family and say, this is what we are, folks. I'm not going to deny it. Okay? I like pasta. I'm Italian. I fit in with that crowd. I'm an Islander fan, and I'm a carny. Look at this show. Look at the thumbnail for this show. It looks like a carnival, and I designed it because I am, in fact, one of the carnies. I'm not going to speak for Mike, but I don't know. I feel
I'm not going to disagree with you at all. And to be honest, saying that Philadelphians are scumbag fans, I appreciate the compliment.
As I told Laffy, there are two fan bases that degraded Santa Claus. One was yours, and the other's not only was mine, it was me. It was me, Austin. It was me all along. And if you don't believe me, on YouTube, all you have to do is search The Santa Brawl. And they did a mini documentary on it last year in December around the holidays. Yes, you're going to see my mug in it, and I orchestrated the Santa Brawl that occurred in the Nassau Coliseum. And who did the New York Islanders happen to be playing on that night? Oh, yes, the Philadelphia Flyers. The perfect game to actually do. And if you want to know more about that, it was a Santa melee on the ice orchestrated by me and my friends. They had to delay the start of the second period, and it was ruckus that made the news. And it's in Sports Illustrated's craziest sports moments of the 2000s. So just a quick hurry up with that. Yeah. Yep. That's me.
I love that humble brag. You should be proud of that. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I embrace that Philly, New York kind of fans that we are. Look at Gritty. We were the last team in the NHL that had a mascot. The NHL forced it on the Flyers. And I'm convinced the Flyers were like, all right, watch this, NHL, fuck you. And gave us this cracked out, spinning eye meth addict Gritty. And we hated it at first, like anybody else would. But it's kind of like you can talk shit about your brother, but nobody else can. Once the rest of the country started talking shit about Gritty, we were like, no, you don't do that. And we embraced him. And now we got this cracked out crazy hockey mascot. And yeah, he's becoming iconic in that city because he also is a scumbag.
I know. I got like my hand ready. I got my hand ready when I'm going, my theoretical hand. But when I'm with fan bases or people like that, who you got to know who you're around, I'm always ready. I got brought to one of the main cheesesteak places in Philly a couple of years back. From my good friend who's from Philadelphia. He was my coworker. We went down there, showed me where he grew up. We got a cheesesteak, I didn't ask. I said, if you want to. The funny thing was, I wanted a sandwich for later, so I ordered a cheesesteak, and then I wanted to ask if they had like chicken cutlets or something. I was like, you think I can get like also a chicken cutlet? And they were like, wait, what are you asking for? I said, second cheesesteak. I just had I wasn't going to argue with, I know where that can go. I know what, you never heard of a chicken cutlet set? That could get ugly in a heartbeat. But like the soup Nazi, I was like, no, I meant second fill. And then when I apologized and he said, no, what do you want? But he was ready to go nuts on me for suggesting I was going to order something other than his cheesesteak. But then when I relented, then he was like, no, what do you want? Tell me. It was, you got to know the psychology of these types of people, you know?
No doubt.
It's like thinking a couple steps ahead. And if you didn't watch last night, but you said you were able to catch some of it, just a couple things I wanted to say is Al Michaels, national treasure. Not only did he call the Miracle on Ice, you know, one of the craziest sports events ever, but last night he made it a point to say, we're not going to make this whole game about Taylor Swift. People come here to watch football, so we're going to focus on football. So he gave a somewhat of a middle finger to that Taylor Swift Swiftie crowd. And you got to love how ESPN's main headline today, after your team, you know, makes the NLCS, and there are all sorts of major headlines, was that Brittany Mahomes embraces Taylor Swift as Kelsey catches a ball or something like that. So Michaels does that. He always sneaks in references to the line at the end of the game. And he talked about how since they won by 11, he goes, you know, games can't end by 10.5. And that is interesting for a game like this. So he references sports betting. And then on top of that, he recently revealed that he's never eaten a vegetable. He's a national treasure. So my hats off, my salute to Al Michaels, who referenced sports betting during a time, he did this decades ago. And this was a time where, you know, sports betting was like prostitution outside the red light. You don't mention things like that. If you're talking about, you need to be in movie theaters with Paul Rubens if you're going to be talking about stuff like that. And he made subtle side references to it at a time where it was heavily frowned upon. And it's such a funny thing about life, by the way. Yeah, that's right. This is a life pod. It's a Halloween sports life podcast where people tell you, oh no, that's the worst thing ever. That's the worst thing ever. It's the worst thing ever. And then a couple decades later, yeah, it's on morning television. Just sign up for your bonus because sports betting is fantastic. It is, but we should have known it the whole time. And I always try to have foresight about things like that. What are people getting all riled up about? That's no big deal. But if you're wrong, you know, that could go the other way too. So Al Michaels, my hats off to him. I like him. He's not one of those guys like Collinsworth or Joe Buck where you have a heavily divided audience. He seems to be a national treasure, despite the fact that he got traded for a cartoon character or whatever that story was. You know that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
ridiculous.
I don't know how I would feel about that. Imagine that, Mike. Imagine you weren't the producer of this show next week, and they said, "Hey, Mike, we love what you've been doing. You've been traded to this show because the people over at Oddshopper and Stochastic needed a graphic. So we traded your services for a graphic." You know, I don't know how good that would make someone feel, but it's a pretty funny piece of history that he got. Like, I would love to be traded for like the rights to like Charles and Charge. We need to, Mike, I got news for you. I would trade you for the rights to Charles in Charge. I mean, I love having you here, but that's a lifelong dream of mine.
I'll produce that show whenever we get it funded. So if you're out there with financing and you want to do Andy in Charge, you know, the reboot, which is much more funnier because there's technology divide between the generations, I'm your Huckleberry.
I'm happy that I sold you on that. You know, that is the ultimate goal, ladies and gentlemen, to stack your pockets full of cash, all so that you can retire from your job, stay at home, and just binge watch the new Charles in Charge, which we have acquired the rights to, and me and Mike are EPs on, and is the next big sensation in the country that sorely needs comedy to come back. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming back for another episode of Francess and Friends. I'm always happy to have you back. I value your time. I understand there's a variety of things you can watch, so hopefully you got a couple laughs. Hopefully you got a couple bets. If you didn't get it, we got plenty of other bets. Check out the other betting videos. My NFL video for the weekend will be up either later tonight or tomorrow. Plenty of good stuff for you. Happy to have you back. Make sure you're subscribed here to the Oddshopper channel. Come follow me on social media. It's at Andy Francess on every single social media platform. It's not like, oh, the real _Andy2 France. Andy Francess everywhere around. Very easy to find. Tonight on my YouTube channel, I'm going to be doing episode 2 of something I call Pickin' Corners, where I talk about the NHL, what happened over the first week, preview the following week a little bit. Here I do daily bets, but that's, I talk about the NHL more on a macro level. So check that out over on my YouTube channel later on. And I'm done selling all this stuff. Unless you want to buy one of my t-shirts, which you can get at andyfrancis.com. I call it Sniff Trip. Man, are you guys sick yet? All right, I'll let you go. It is Friday the 13th after all. Everyone deserves to be a little like in Halloween H2O. Everyone deserves a little scare, right? I've had my fair share. All right, everyone, take it easy. I'll see you next week.